All right, so obviously the hot topic around crypto in the mainstream media these days is the fall in crypto. And there was a really interesting moment on CNBC's Squawk Box recently as MacKenzie Sigalos, you see on the screen here, longtime journalist covering the crypto space, does quite well, is talking to Andrew Ross Sorkin about what's going wrong with crypto. And Sorkin gets fixated on the cost to mine a Bitcoin, which Sigalos talks about right here.
And part of the problem why you're seeing these outsized moves is the fact that it's shallow liquidity when we lost those market makers. So any kind of movement in either direction is bringing it up. The only reason we are hovering in that 60K range is because there's a floor priced in at 60.
But that's the question. So this floor that's priced in at 60, who is supporting that floor?
So basically $60,000 is what it costs to produce a Bitcoin. And so you've got the Bitcoin miners who, below that 60K point, they go out of business.
Right.
And so they are applying most of the marginal selling pressure. So once you get them
really
out of the
turning
market,
there.
then suddenly you hit this floor. And also 60K.
So you're talking about actual supply and demand.
Exactly. And like to that point, 60K is the point at which the percentage of Bitcoin in profit it drops below the percentage of Bitcoin at a loss. And so that's why it keeps bouncing off of that 60 floor. Usually we see a drawdown of 70 to 80% from the market peak. That would be in the 40K range. So we're still doing better. Last week when it was down at 60, it was 50.
What happens if it goes under 60 for real? And how long does it have to stay under 60 to be a problem?
Okay, so that is this idea that's grabbing him. And I think what's happened is he believes this $60,000 figure is like somehow a fixed figure. And I don't fault him for that. I mean, he's interested in Bitcoin, but he's not obsessed with it. Let's see what happens here.
The whole thing, I know, one second. The whole, and I'm not saying 1 second to you, I'm saying 1 second to a producer.
What grabs me about that is I think he's extending over time because he's just like, is Bitcoin gonna fall apart? Like, is Bitcoin getting too cheap? Listen to this.
The whole thing gets super complicated, though. If you are under $60,000, it's not just that people stop mining the Bitcoin, it's that the network becomes more complicated itself because you need all the miners to continue to effectively mine, literally for the whole thing to work.
He appreciates
exactly,
the
and also
budget.
that was one of the core fundamentals of Bitcoin's use case, the fact that it was a decentralized network, and to have a decentralized network, so you need miners online around the world.
Right. This is eye-opening. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I think it kind of blew Sigalos' mind how much it grabbed him at that moment. Like, I don't think she saw that coming. And I bet she understands this, but just in case viewers out there don't, the $60,000 number, I don't know how right or wrong. That's probably right. It's not a fixed thing. So Bitcoin actually adjusts at moments like this. If the price of Bitcoin starts to fall too much and it stops being profitable for miners to mine, here's what happens. Miners will start taking some machines off the network. That means there'll be less hash power going at blocks. The Bitcoin network wants blocks to come out roughly every 10 minutes. Well, if the hash power shrinks, this is a probabilistic game, it'll start taking a little bit longer than 10 minutes for blocks to come out, and Bitcoin will want to adjust for that. So about every 10 days, the Bitcoin network automatically sets a new difficulty, a hardness for these blocks. And we see that that is actually happening. So look here, this is the Bitcoin difficulty chart. Do you see that giant plunge on the far right side of the chart? That is around early February. That's one of the biggest falls in difficulty we've seen in a long time. It's about 12% dropping in difficulty, and that has a real impact on the profitability of mining. Have a look at this. This is the Bitcoin hash price index. So what this chart is showing is the value of putting a unit of hash rate onto the Bitcoin network. So that you see that bottom place there, that is like the lowest profitability point that Bitcoin's seen. It's a combination of being very high difficulty and very inexpensive Bitcoin. And so it started to be really hard to make money. Well, that moment where it turns around, that's where Bitcoin difficulty dropped. A bunch of miners had left the network. Those that remained started to have a slightly more profitable experience. So just so my boy Andrew isn't too worried about Bitcoin, it actually adjusts dynamically in situations just like this.